Join us for our second season of Different Perspectives, powered by the Jennifer Experience. Dive into fresh, thought-provoking discussions that challenge the status quo. Whether it's culture, church, politics, or the latest trends, we bring you a unique angle on the topics that matter. Tune in, expand your mind, and see the world from a whole new perspective. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tam is a professional realtor with 14 years of experience in the real estate industry. She specializes in both residential and commercial properties and is currently affiliated with Keller Williams Realty. Tam is well-versed in investment opportunities and serves clients in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Alongside her successful career in real estate, Tam is also a devoted foster parent who has cared for over 57 children. She has also served on the boards of several agencies that are in alliance with health and humanitarian services. Tam is committed to giving back to the community and runs a fundraiser every year for teens in foster care. She gathers donations and provides kids and teens in need with much needed support and resources. As active members of our community, we enjoy volunteering and partnering with area charities and organizations. We live here, play here, work here, and most importantly, we serve here.
Hello, hello, hello. Greetings to everyone. We have finally begun season 2 of Different Perspectives, and I am so thrilled to have one of my dear friends on here. We've known each other quite a while now, and today is going to be a treat. We're starting the Entrepreneurial Business Owner Series. Many of you have had so many questions for me about how to do your business in a better way, how to start up businesses, what are some good business tips, how do you deal with being a business owner, all these type of things. And so I have gone and pulled some of my best people that I know are being successful, that I know are being responsible, but also that I know have some good stories, some good wise things, some wisdom that they can impart upon this generation. Because right now, some of the things that I see going on in business sometimes trouble my heart, mind, and soul. And so I want to make sure that this particular series that we start off with really is a help, especially to the entrepreneurs out there and those of you that are in business for yourself. I want to particularly point out that I'm going to be highlighting Black women in this series. So we're going to have some dynamic Black women. Now, I want to put out this PSA. Please do not harass these women that I have on here just because I'm highlighting them as very successful business Black women. Don't call them and ask them for no money, people, okay? Their advice that they're giving to you on the podcast is the free advice that you're getting. I would suggest you get your notes, your pen, and your paper, and listen up, because, Different Perspectives is all about bringing you a different perspectives. And so we're going to give you all the tea. We're going to answer all those difficult questions, tell a little funny story here and there. But overall, we're going to tell you the truth about how business really is and what it really does and how it goes. And so without further ado, Miss Tam Lawler, I'm so happy to have you. Hey, my friend, round of applause for her, you guys. So happy to have her.
Thank you. I mean,
so this has been a long time coming.
It has. Life was life.
Yes, it has. And, now Tam is a business partner of mine, so I work with her at other business ventures, and we were already going to have her on the podcast for another reason. But when I decided to do this series on successful business women, I had to include her. She has a wealth of knowledge. And so I wanted to start off with, what was your first business venture? Because, see, this hits near and dear and home to me. And many people do not consider this as a form of income. I consider it a passion. I consider it something that you did to help people. Many of you knew I grew up in foster care. So this is something that I felt like it really just spoke to my spirit. But in the same token, it's a method to this. This is not something that just anybody can do. So we're not suggesting that this is a business venture that you take up if it's not in your heart and soul to do so, right? This is if the Lord has not placed it on your heart to do. I don't suggest that you do this. But I want Tam to tell us how she was able to do this, especially the back end of this, because it takes paperwork, it takes background checks. I mean, there's a lot of checks and balances, as well as when you have your own children, right? And you have to make sure that your house is a certain way and your life is a certain way. So tell us, how did you start your first business venture? What made you say, I don't want to, or did you say you don't want to work for someone other than yourself? Did you have that conversation? I know I did. Did you say, I don't want to punch nobody clock? Did you say that?
Yes and no. So I'm going to take it just back before, because that was my second venture.
Take it all the way back then. Tell us.
My first venture in my early 20s, I decided I wanted to operate and own a maintenance company. It was called
maintenance company.
Yes. It was called Tel Maintenance.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. A maintenance. I'm scared to ask, what did you maintenance? But go ahead.
Actually, I went to the SBA, the Small Business Administration, because at that time I was living in Michigan, and they had a whole sector, and SCORE. Forgive me, because I can't tell you what those acronyms mean right at this moment, but it was regarding business. It was SCORE, SCORE, and SBA. And so I went in because I wanted to be, I wanted to know. I didn't know. I come from the hood, neighborhood, however you like to identify it as. But, my parents were either working parents, retired parents, migrated from the South to work at the automobile plant. So,
okay. Okay.
And out of them, I was the only one born and raised in Michigan, Detroit. But anyway.
All right. From
Yeah,
Detroit.
everybody. That's me. All of my other siblings are Bama bound. So, nonetheless, I started my maintenance service, and it did good. So the one gentleman, and it was a lot of business and business owners that were like mentorees, or they mentor some of the people that came in. And so I decided I wanted to do that. And the first thing that I was maintenance was like Rite Aids. Rite Aids is like a CVS drugstore.
Yeah, I remember Rite Aids.
And then I would do apartments, the community areas of apartments, and the suburban area of Michigan, Troy, Rochester. I got those contracts. And so that was my first entrepreneurial experience, cleaning. And
now, how did you get those contracts?
So I looked up as much, because I thought about that one. It was one company. It's kind of like Service Pro, but Service King. And I realized that they were a large franchisee where you go in. But then it seemed like I was paying them more money than I was making. So I just started to research. It's most franchisees, but nonetheless. I just started researching the information. And when I reached out to one of the gentlemen, he said, you know what? He just happened to like me and my personality, and my tenaciousness for wanting something different. I'm sure coming from the urban area. It was a Caucasian older gentleman. And he said he owned a couple apartment buildings, and he would give me a try, reach out to certain, his property managers. And that's how I got my first contract.
So you literally just pitched yourself.
That's it. And it was just me. I hadn't bought anything. I just wanted the information, and he was telling me. And then I went out and bought some supplies and cleaned. I mean, I'm kind of OCD at home, so it just kind of transferred into the business.
Did you have any employees then?
Not at the time. It was just me. And, when you're the youngest of the family, your sisters and them going to always show up. Mm-hmm. But after a while, when people start showing up and they like, I mean, if you making 1,000, why I'm not making 800? That part. So it went on for a while. And then too, when you're young, and thank God I have good genes, because when you're young and people see, or you don't look as old as maybe they think you should be being an entrepreneur. Why are you driving this car? Why are you doing this? How are you doing that? Then here come the people. So some of his employees or property managers started to feel a certain way.
You don't say.
And then I had started getting staff. And we know what happens when you get staff. Everybody think that they should make what you make. Although they don't have to do the work, the paperwork, the groundwork, the sleepless nights, the show up.
Or are they responsible for the business?
No. So I think I did that for probably about 3 to 4 years. And then I decided I wanted to be a paralegal. I wanted to be a court reporter, but I ended up, life was life. And I went through school to be a court reporter, got halfway finished, got married, went through a divorce. So I just became a paralegal.
So we got to keep this timeline together because, the people's attention spans here. So you basically shut down the business.
Yeah.
That I had enough. I tried it.
Yes. It was, and I was young, and I was like in my early 20s, like somewhere between 19 and 23. I had this business.
So you had a young entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes.
But then you said, let me go over here and just take this 9 to 5.
Yeah, because I felt like I was being taken advantage of. I was targeted. I mean, it was just, at that age, I'm supposed to be enjoying. And it was just a lot to take on.
Okay.
And my parents had moved to back to Alabama. So now I'm just here in Michigan navigating life on my own with my son, may I add.
Okay, yes. Now you had a son too. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how old was your son when you started court reporting?
Oh, probably about 4.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's daycare age. Okay.
Yes. So I
want to put this into perspective for the people because you got to understand, you said you had already, I believe you went through a divorce by then?
That was later.
Okay. So you wasn't a single parent yet?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
But not,
So the
divorce was my second son.
Okay, so that makes a difference, though. You was a single parent with a 4-year-old son, so you went into court reporting. Now we got to link in, daycare, all that kind of, okay. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. All right. We on the story.
Yeah, so I get through all that, finish school, and now we fast forward way till, how far are we going to fast forward? We're gonna bypass a whole life changes. So married, unmarried, and then 2008 coming, I decided I'm going to move to Texas because I had a layoff for the company that I was with. And a friend of mine was moving to Texas. And I was like, I don't know anyone in Texas, and there was nothing in Texas for me. But I came to visit Texas for 1 weekend, then 2 weekends. And then by the 3rd time, I told my children we were moving to Texas. So it went from a year to like, we moving in 2 months at the end of the
How old were your children then?
Now, this was after going through my divorce, because now we're like 2008. I have my children are 7 years and 7 years apart and 7 days apart. Yes. So, I think one was in elementary. I'm for sure one was in elementary and one was going to high school or in high school. Okay. And we made the transition.
Okay. And you out of court reporting at this point?
Yeah. By that time I had graduated from college. I was a paralegal. I had been a paralegal that's when Kmart was Kmart. I was a paralegal for Kmart.
Y'all, did y'all hear us say Kmart? Kmart
when they
still open anywhere?
When they went through their bankruptcy, I was part of that team that helped them. Kmart was really a holding company. People don't know how Kmart got out of bankruptcy was because of their real estate, not because of retail.
Talk, Tam. Come on.
So that's how Kmart got out of, when they first filed bankruptcy years ago, They got out because of the real estate that they own, the estoppels with different companies and different other, as a landlord, they was able to sell off stock as exchange for some of those bills to be paid, which is how they came out of bankruptcy.
And you heard it here first on different perspectives. Okay. Now that we got that out the way.
Yeah.
So were you going to do court reporting in Texas?
Well, I didn't, because you have to take your license for court reporting. And I think I got to like 220. You have to be able to do 220 words per minute for a Q&A, 180 words per minute for a congressional speech. And because life was lifing and I was going through a divorce, or I had just went through a divorce, so Lord knows, I think I stopped at like 180. So I switched my degree over to paralegal, which is how I ended up at Kmart.
Okay, so you were going to do paralegal in Texas then?
Yes. However, when I got to Texas, everybody know that Texas is its own country. So all the laws that applies everywhere else, in every legal law book you can see, except for Delaware and Texas, is what you'll always see.
Now, that is true. And I can't say that I'm a fan of that. Because that can really, especially if you are, and I need y'all to hear this, especially if you are a person of color, that does not help us in a lot of ways and a lot of situations. It hurts us, not just with laws, but with education too. Y'all need to really look up some Texas stuff, because if y'all see what's on the books with Texas, but that's another podcast for another day. I digress.
And I'm with
you, Tam.
So, when I came to what I was making in Michigan, and then of course we're talking 2008. That's when every automobile agency company was going through their battle.
Yes.
And funny enough, I had gotten laid off from an ambulance service, an emergency. It was AMR at the time. I was working there. I was payroll supervisor or something. I was working.
Wait, you got a payroll supervisor job and you had a paralegal background?
Yeah. I mean, because after the bankruptcy, it was good. So paralegals do a lot of work for the attorneys.
Okay. So they have financial background? I'm just trying to educate the people, because there might be somebody sitting here with a paralegal degree saying I can't do nothing, and I'm trying to help them find some jobs, honey. So
remember, if you could recall, back then being a contractor was highly sought after, because it showed you.
Hold on, let's define contractor for the people.
Working for the temp service.
Oh, check. Because see, contractor now is very glorified.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Well, no, back then, actually, I find that they file frown upon it now.
When you say contractor now, though, I do contract work only. People think that means, you have to contract me for my services. I mean, I present you with a contract and you pay me thousands of dollars for that contract, and that's how you get me contract.
Okay.
And in actuality, we know contract to mean that you work for a temp agency.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we was on the same page.
No, you and I are on the same page. I'm just trying to educate the people that when you say contract work, you are speaking of what type of contract work? Yeah. Who remember was Best Staff Agency?
Okay. Or Kelly Services. Yeah.
I'm just we're trying to help the people. Come on.
Okay. For the people. This type of contract service was I work for them and they get paid the most of the money, and then I get some. That's how that works. Okay.
The correct word that the people want to use is consultant.
Yes. That's the word that they should be using.
Put that in your spirit, people. Stop saying you contract. You are a consultant.
There you go. However, I was contracting. So that's when contract work was very lucrative, and it was everybody wanted it because then it showed your versatility, because I used to be kind of the cleanup person for companies. I've worked. So if somebody looked at my resume, to them it looks unstable, but it was with the same contract house for different cleanup positions where they needed people to go in that knew the work, that can get it done, and didn't need a lot of training.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I've been as far as HR with General Motors. I think I was there for like 5 years as a contractor, and not from the form of like line work. I'm talking metal fabrication, engineering, just, a host of stuff.
Now, I've heard General Motors is a pretty good, auto industry to work in. What made you not want to stay in that field?
Well, most of the stuff, I'd never been on the line. I just was always in the office. And so I wanted to do something else. I enjoyed it, my time, because every summer I had off. I saved my money so that when General Motors went on shutdown, those were the summer months.
I'm sorry, you did what?
Oh, I saved my money.
I'm sorry, you did what?
Yep. SAVE, save my money.
What do you mean by you saved? How did you pay your bills?
I did not live beyond my means.
You didn't spend your whole check?
Absolutely not. My parents lived in Alabama and I lived in Detroit, Michigan. That was not an option.
Oh, so you took a percentage of your check and saved?
Absolutely. So that I could
share with people how much of your check did you save?
Typically, I would try to save anywhere from 20 to 15%.
And you had children?
I had one son at the time because I knew I liked to be off for the summers with him.
Wait a minute, hold on, y'all. Hold on. The earth is shaking. So let me get this straight. You worked a full-time job.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that you saved. Did you say 10 to 15 or 15 to 20? I don't want to exaggerate here.
I mean, it was like between, depending on how the bills were billing.
Because Texas has heat. So that light bill can be.
I was still in Michigan before I even went to Texas. I'm saying,
you had been saving. Okay, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean,
you were saving 10 to 15% of your check.
Yes,
and I like children
with the child. Yes, and when I was in my 20s.
And where did you learn this from?
My mother.
So your mother taught you early.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So now I want to make a point here because everyone...
My mother was a homemaker. She did not work.
Okay. So I want to make a point here. Tam is saying her mother was a homemaker, okay? Everybody did not have a mother or a father. Everybody, mother and father, may not have been wise enough or may not have come from a background to the point to where they could save. Okay, we're not going to be unrealistic and say that some people didn't grow up poor. I, like myself, have said I grew up in foster care. I didn't learn money lessons until I was in my late 20s.
And I don't mean to cut you off there, because although my mother, and for those that don't know what a homemaker is, she was a housewife.
Oh, I'm glad you explained that.
Yes. Secondly, my father worked for the automobile company, but he was laid off. So don't misunderstand that there was a savings to save when my mother taught me. We were on welfare when she taught me how to save.
So that means you can also not be a high income earner and still say, oh, listen, don't get me to preaching on here. Okay, so I'm just...
Because I've never been put out, and thank God.
So I just want to set the story up for the people. So what we're trying to say here is that even if you didn't have the upbringing that taught you, if you're listening to this podcast, and even if you're on welfare, let's say right now, she is telling you that even back then, her mother was on welfare, her father was laid off, and they still were able, she was taught to still save and not spend every single dollar out of your check. Now, good for Tam. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Again, I was not raised with such wisdom. I did not learn about money until I was in my, late 20s. And a Caucasian person, honestly, had to teach me about it, who was very near and dear to me. And even then, I struggled. It's a wonderful thing that my better half is the manager of the money in our house. Now, I have learned. I've learned. But it is imperative because one of the things that I see, especially in Black culture, is that we are so quick to make some money, but we don't know how to save it. We don't know how to invest it. We don't know what to do with it. We the first one to have a GoFundMe when somebody die. And I find it very odd that you can have Gucci shoes and a Louis Vuitton belt, but you don't have a burial policy. Y'all wonder why I do shows with Miss Linda to talk about preparing?
It's important.
Because some of y'all, if you die tomorrow, your children would have to bury you. Or your friends would have to be asked for donations. I'm telling you right now, I'm not helping bury anybody. I already have a policy for my son.
Ditto. And grandson.
Talk about it. And talk about it.
His retirement plan is already started.
Talk about it. Okay, so I wanted to make that point because when we hear save, that sounds so foreign. As if, like you hear the saying, well, you can't take nothing with you. But if you don't save anything, then what do you like? And as we get further on, we're going to explain the difference between having money and actually having wealth.
I agree.
But anyway, go ahead. So you're coming to Texas.
Yeah, so I get to Texas, all of that good stuff. And
we want to praise God for Jesus today, for Mama and Daddy who taught you.
Yes. Love them, yes. The apples of my eyes, but yes. And it's funny how all that started, but nonetheless, get to Texas. I had got laid off before I got.
Which happens. Which happens, people.
And I turned down a job to move to Texas, which was the best decision that I could have ever made.
Wow. Did you think that then, though?
Yep, I just followed my gut. I mean, because I had never been out of work for longer than 30 days. Like sometimes I would have to hold my resume back because I would get calls. And then 2008, another entrepreneurial side of me, I was managing a friend of mine's bar, which I did his taxes and payroll and all of that stuff because I worked in the area, so I knew what to do. And I had got...
Now, let me tell y'all, Tam, low-key, is a hustler. I want y'all to know that. Y'all hear how she said, I did my friend's taxes. Listen, I'm going to tell y'all right now, two things. Hustler, okay? Anytime you can pull a job out of the side of your side skills, that's a hustler. It is. And that's a good one, though. I didn't say she was hustling street pharmacy. I said, this is a hustler. So
now, what people did, once the money got to me,
hey, that ain't on her.
Sure it's right in his math and everybody gonna get paid at the bar.
She made sure the math.
That's right, and the taxes went together.
I'm loving what I'm hearing.
So I got to Texas, and and
something else you said. You said that you did not regret the job because you followed your what?
I followed my intuition, my heart, my intuition.
I tell people all the time, a woman's intuition is never wrong.
And I have a saying. Have you ever heard anybody say, I should have followed my second mind?
All the time.
It's always the first one. So whatever that first one tells you.
Women, y'all got to get this. If first of all, God gave you your intuition for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you are right now, if you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner, this word is for you. If your intuition is telling you go for it or don't go for it, don't spend that money, don't do with that business partner or take that opportunity, go for it. Do not. This is this is the best free advice that the Jennifer Experience could ever give you. Follow your intuition. Mm-hmm. It is a God-given voice inside of you that is never wrong. Okay, right. So go ahead, Tam.
So fast forward, get to Texas. And I went, women, we funny. So I go through a divorce and then I'm dating a gentleman and I just, probably not nice gentleman. Let me say that, nice. But sometimes you have to recognize when that person is not for you. Like you just, every woman goes through something where she decides, maybe I should switch it up a little.
Disclaimer, I have no idea who this gentleman is, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe I should switch it up a little from, my divorcee, because maybe I'm selecting the wrong type of men or something. So then I get with this gentleman, nice gentleman, and I've learned things in every relationship that I've been in. So I don't count them as bad relationships.
Lessons.
They absolutely are. And I don't think I've ever been an enemy with any man that I've ever parted with.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. I know many women who cannot say that.
No,
So you never bust the windows out the car.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying once we
I bust the windows out the car.
We're gonna edit out that part of the show, y'all. Okay. So you were saying that you don't.
But Tippy, no, seriously, I didn't bust windows, but I definitely get my point across. And people mistake nice girl for naive. That she's not.
Yeah, so, nice don't spell naive. Go ahead.
No, it doesn't. So I never really bust
I'm
out.
Treading real lightly on this because I don't know what she's gonna say, ladies and gentlemen. So I can't amen her every time.
But I will let you know.
Mm-hmm.
So moving forward, so I get to here, and the gentleman that was coming here, or that had came here was like, you should come check it out. And I was like, I don't know. Finally, I did. Good thing. I'm glad I did, because you never know who God is using to, maneuver, do things. So I get here, and he and I were.
God works through people, in case y'all have not figured that out. Have you ever gotten a check from the Lord in the mail?
Never.
Okay, I was just checking.
Mm-hmm.
I asked everybody
that he told me to do something.
Right. I was just checking because the deeply spiritual, religious people haven't figured out that God works through people. So I just wanted to make sure you had not personally gotten a check signed from Jesus himself. Have you?
Nope, he hadn't signed it. But some of the people that he sent my way, so I could get to the check.
Okay. Oh. I just wanted to make sure. I have to ask everybody that I know, because I don't want to miss in case. But go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So nonetheless, the gentleman we got here, he suggested that I come. I came down a couple times, and I was like, no. And then I end up coming. Like, I end up making a decision. At first, I was like, maybe 1 year, maybe next time. Then by my second visit, I was like, I'm doing it. Called my children to ask how they felt about moving out of the state.
What'd they say?
Of course, they was like, whatever you want, Ma. They was like 7 and 15 at the time or whatever, something like that.
Easy kid. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. So
you know what? That's such a blessing when children will go along. I had a son like that. I have a son. I don't know why I'm saying have.
Yeah, you have.
My son, we have lived in several different states, and I will tell you that every time I have been led, because many of you have looked at me crazy when I've gone to a different state. Mind your business. My son has always adjusted well and has never said to me, Mama, why we got to go? He's always been, he's always went with my intuition. Yep. I really believe God knew what type of child to give me.
You and I both, because I know what kind of mother I am.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I only have one. This is another podcast.
Yeah.
Tam, we got to stay on task. Okay, so
let's just say that's why they're 7 years and 7 days apart. But they know what kind of mother they have.
Yes,
and God,
listen, Ramsey know what type of mother he has too.
Mm-hmm. I am definitely a boy's kind of mom. But anyway,
me too. High five, sis. Me too.
Yes. And the girls I raised are just like me.
So I need to meet one. We're gonna have to interview one of them because I know they got a story.
And she's a business owner here in Michigan. My niece, yes.
Now you should be proud of that.
Am I?
See what happened, and see that just goes to show you that this next generation can learn if they just listen.
So I will connect y'all.
And she's in a legal business.
Yes, she has an event business here in Michigan, and even the state representative have rented her space before, twice.
Yeah, the Jennifer Experience going to host an event and hire her. We're going to talk.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So get to Texas, and then I decided my passion used to be, I wanted to open a group home for teenage mothers in Michigan. I did, but that never happened. I know, because I left and got there. So when I got to Texas, and let's just say the gentleman I came with, nice guy, just wasn't the guy for me. Asked me to marry him and everything, but I was like, I don't think this is going to work. I think you're a nice guy, but I think you're a nice guy for somebody else. I think that's it. So nonetheless.
Oh, another podcast. Damn, stop doing that.
So I threw all the books in the trash, and I was like,
now for all of y'all who are listening, who are saying, Jennifer, we want the answer to this too. Listen, I'm going to come back. I'm going to ask Tim to come back, and we're going to dig and dive into the story. I know I'm letting her off easy because y'all know normally I dig into people, but this podcast is about entrepreneurship and business. Now, you see how she's dropping these little hints and this stuff that's really making me want to, I'm not going to do her like this today. But trust me, offline, we're going to have a conversation how she really is setting me up to act up right now. But we're going to stay on the task of the story.
About entrepreneurship.
That's right.
So nonetheless, after he and I had did like a business venture together, and it was cool or whatever. But we ended up.
Now, hold on. Now, we do got to talk about that.
Okay.
Now, your opinion on doing business ventures with someone that you are or have had sexual relations with.
Everybody has to know their strengths and weaknesses, and you have to be on the same page. And unfortunately, for that particular situation, I felt like a really close friend of his was taking advantage of him. Mm-hmm. Now, he can take advantage of him. However,
he can't take advantage of you.
I'm
telling your story for you.
Yeah, but no, I mean, you're absolutely right. Because there's two places you don't want to see me. Legally or in the streets.
Careful with me. Do you know what you're doing? Whose feelings that you hurting?
And we just gonna leave it at that.
You see how I got quiet? I can't say nothing.
Because again, nice doesn't mean naive.
I've never seen Tam Lawler in the streets, ladies and gentlemen, so I can't testify to. Tam is my friend. We have never had an argument, so I don't know. I don't know her legally or in the streets. So I want to say that I only know her to be a nice and wonderful person who does great business.
And that's how I do. And I expect people to, sometimes I have this misconception that people will do the same. I like it fair and honest, period.
So are you saying you shouldn't do business with?
I mean, you can. You just have to know your strength and weakness and know the person, and it's fair and honest. Now, what you can and can't, I mean, it's a slippery.
I mean, do you suggest that you have a pre-written contract? Do you suggest that you, let's say I trust this person and we're not
Put it in writing. Put it in
writing.
Yes.
And if they don't abide by the contract, then you suggest
because everybody
legally.
Yes. And then everybody don't know how to turn off work and home, business and pleasure. Because I cannot be talking to you as a business owner, but when we get after the hours, you confused because you like, how she acting like nothing happened? It didn't happen here. It happened there. I don't have a problem compartmentalizing and separating church from state, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So
you have to determine if the person can compartmentalize, and you can too.
Right. I mean, if it works for you all, because it's a personal space that you have to be in and be comfortable with being in and knowing how. Everybody don't know how to turn it off.
Right. And then you need to have some type of legal.
Correct. Yes.
Contract.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I would say the same thing. I would absolutely do business with my wife, but I know my wife's temperament.
So you know which parts you need to handle.
Right. And I know, like, she, I fully trust her. And, plus we're already married. So whatever hers is mine and mine's is hers. So
Right.
I would trust her in that sense. But I do think that you definitely need to make sure that whatever you do is legal. I think that's a really strong and decision that you should think about long. I think you should think long about that decision, because when you get into business with someone, let's say the relationship phases out, but the business is booming.
Yes. And what do you do?
Yeah, and then you meet somebody else who done met you, and you done came all the way up. And the person who you was with when the business started, and y'all was down here, now you way up here, and your person down here is by themselves, and they looking at you up there with the new person. It could get a little
fuzzy, cloudy,
and we have to be honest. Our feelings sometimes really can show up when money comes.
You want to know how if you?
Oh, I want to know. I want to know. Yes, I want to know. Come on, I want to know.
If you want to know people you're dealing with, die, get married, or get some money.
Die, get married, or get some money. You heard it here first. That's what Tam said.
Then you'll find out the people around you who they really are.
Get married or get some money. And I would put an emphasis. I hate to say die, because you really won't be here to see
know,
it.
but the people you're around
But
will find out.
Ooh, when somebody die,
The F and F.
you're going to find out about the money, and you're going to find out about the secrets.
And the family. And the friends. Because when there's money, typically there's fools. And they show up. So yeah, if you really want to know what somebody is about, let any of the three happen. So all that to say, okay, so we fast forward in here. So after, and this gentleman and I managed money differently, and we handled
y'all managed it differently?
Yes. And we handled.
But you didn't know that. Now I got to play devil's advocate.
That's okay.
You didn't know that prior to the business dealings, Tam? Because you
No, I did not.
Sharp.
Well, so two things. I, as a woman, I believe in my parents were married 56 years before my father passed. So I was
56 years?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Even though your father's passed, clap for them. That's a long time.
Thank you. So I believe in letting men be men and lead. However,
okay, I understand that.
I don't turn off the blinders, because they say if you want to know something, if a person is up here doing this, find out who's pulling the strings. If they're talking. So I let him handle, because it was a business that he was in. I was on the business because we, how we need you to start the business, and this is what we're going to do, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, fine. Because I had started a business in Michigan, and that business was sort of mirror to the business that was here, just on a larger scale when I got to Texas.
Okay.
So, and the friend would, he was used to maybe running things or running a person or whatever. And I'm quiet until I'm not. That's it. So
the answer to my question is that you allowed him to be a man, so you really didn't interfere in his financial stuff.
Yes, because I'm always I still gonna manage mine and do what I need to do for me and my children, because we was a blended couple and family.
Right.
So of course I had things. Yes. Yes. So we had things coming into the relationship that was, separate.
Yes.
In what we put together coming to Texas.
So now you find out how he manages money, and you're like,
I don't trust you to make decisions.
Did you?
I don't have a problem with saying it. I say it in a nice, most respectful way.
Well, can we get the nice way you say? I hope
Do
you didn't
think
say it
that's
like
the-
you didn't come out and say it like that. Did you? Did you
So I
say
said,
like,
do you think that's the best decision? And tell me, why do you think that's the best decision?
oh, okay.
And when he couldn't tell me, I said, your decision-making process concerns me because it seems to be a bit emotional. So in the back of my head, now I'm planning because now I know I can't trust you with my business. So as a mate, if I die, then I can't trust you with my money to take care of the people that I love because you make bad decisions with money and emotional decisions. So I think you're
how'd that go?
I think you're a really nice guy, just not the guy for me. And when do you plan on moving? Should I help you? Like, do you need some financial assistance, or where are we with this? Because I don't know what other language to tell you that I'm done. I never stopped smiling.
Why do I feel bad for the guy? Golly.
We still friends when I answer.
I mean, he didn't have no rebuttal. Like, it's just like that. Okay.
I mean, if there was no, not really. Anyway, so needless to say, we part ways.
That's how a boss does it. Okay.
So then I was like, I needed to do something. And I know I wanted to do something. I didn't know what. And this is how your spiritual people, how this comes into play. Because I've always been a 9-to-5er, suits, go work. I think I worked at a place. As a matter of fact, when I got to Texas, I got my first punch-in call center job. I had never worked at a call center before. But a friend of mine that was from Michigan, that went to college, we knew each other. We ran into each other because I was at an interview. And he was over the department or whatever at another contract house.
Okay.
And so I ended up working for AT&T as a tech specialist. Anyway, that's when you first came out, but that's a whole nother. I was like tier 1, tier 2 support.
Oh, I remember. I worked for Southwestern Bell before it was AT&T. I remember.
Right. So I was anyway. So I ended up getting a job there, which was interesting because I had never worked at a call. I hadn't punched a clock in years, so that was all foreign. Anywho, and when I show up, I'm gonna give you 110%. But every job interview I've ever been on, after I grew up and knew how to be honest, something about punching in and being on time doesn't equate for me. So I need flex time. So
I see why we're friends.
Yeah. So, I mean, can I start between 9 and 9:30? And I'm going to get there somewhere in between that. But if you want me there at 9, that's probably going to be a problem. So after I learned how to interview and be honest about what my weaknesses were.
Y'all heard that? You have to be honest about what your weaknesses are.
But when I show up,
I'm just trying to make sure people get the little wisdom that you drop in here. Okay.
But when I show up, you can get 110. I'll stay there whatever time. Just I need that flex time in between. There's something about those 30 minutes. Anywho. So now we go on to the original question you had was, how did I start? Because I wanted to start this group home in Michigan. I didn't. And so I was somewhere or something in Texas, and the lady said something about foster care. And she was like, had you thought about, because I was trying to open up a daycare. I like children, but I don't like them that young, and I don't want to be up at 5 o'clock to receive them. They cute. All of that is great. And it sounds like it could be lucrative, but I don't want to get up at 5 o'clock to receive somebody else's yelling babies.
I have no comment, y'all. I just cannot comment.
Not at that age that I was.
No comment on. I mean, let's be honest. The daycare business now is a very lucrative.
Very. And I probably should have did it, but I did not, because I did not want that.
Well, the caveat to that is if you are a person who loves children and you have the business mindset too. Now, please hear me on this. Not just love children, but has the business mindset. Because you also have to be able to hire the other people who also love children.
Which is important.
The daycare business, I know now, like it's running $300 or $400 a week.
And that's for one child.
And Tam, we know most of these people have 3 and 4 children.
Yes.
So let's be clear that, the daycare, even though Tam and I's feelings are, that's not our calling, but I'm just saying, the children ministry ain't never been my ministry. Even in the church, that was not my ministry. I had one child.
It wasn't mine. I definitely didn't. I definitely did
say, but I am going to say that daycare is a very lucrative business. If you're an entrepreneur, Tam is saying a wonderful business idea, and you feel like the daycare business, baby, it's booming.
Yes, it is. And I know some, even here, I know a young lady. She got a couple of them. Yes.
She a millionaire?
Her anyway. Yeah.
And don't let it be a good daycare.
And
that make you feel like your child is being loved, come home potty trained.
That part.
Listen, I wish I could remember the daycare name Ramsey went to. It was owned by Sheila Adams and her mother over there off of 20 and almost to Oak Cliff. Loved Ramsey so well. He came home potty trained and everything, and I am not ashamed. No, I did not potty train Ramsey. They loved on him. Even there was a day he was sick and everything, and they waited till I got there because my job, I had a punch clock job at Aetna, and they would not let me immediately leave. And these companies don't care if you have a child or not.
No. And I have a client. So I have a client there in Texas. When I met this young lady and sold her first home, she said, Miss Tam, I'm going to call you because I'm going to open up a daycare. And I want you to help me. And I want you to help me find my $1 million home. She called me.
Yes.
So, and she's a young lady.
Yes. Y'all daycare owners, y'all need to call Tam so she can get y'all house, because baby, she the one. But go ahead, because that was really some good tea we were dropping right there, because daycare is really, really lucrative.
It is.
I wish I had the big.
So I thought that's what I wanted to do, but I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. So
no, that wasn't you, honey. We wouldn't.
So I was like, yeah, that's not for me. And so somebody said, you thought about fostering? I was like, no, I didn't think about that either. But you know what I kept hearing after somebody said it to me? Deposit. And I could not figure out, the Lord ain't never talked to me before. I was like, deposit. And then I heard till the soil. What? And I was like, what? And I could not make any sense of it, because I was a briefcase, suit wearing, closed toe shoe sister, okay?
Yeah, I get it.
I kept hearing till the soil. And so I'm just going through this process, not sure what to expect. Somebody's like, oh, you just have to reach out to this company and do this and then reach out to the states. So I'm going through these processes. Next thing I know, I'm going through a whole process to get licensed to be a foster mother. I'm thinking, oh, one child, okay. Talk to my kids. The day I became, so then they have to do a whole entire interview. They have to interview your children. They interview family members. They digging in your background. All of these.
I'm curious. Would it have been easier for you just to open up
a daycare?
No. A side like foster care group home. And I'm asking. Let me tell you why I'm asking this. As a former CPS kid, and those that live in Texas know what CPS stands for. When I was in CPS kid children's care years and years ago, what they used to do when they would place us is they'd place us in 90-day placements because you could only stay in these shelters/group homes for 90 days. And they took up to, I think, maybe, and I could be wrong, 30 to 45 girls could stay in these placements. But what they did not have a lot of was homes or smaller homes where you could go to. Maybe every now and then they might have one house with the mother and the father in it that would take maybe 4 girls on the wee outskirts of the suburbs, like maybe in a suburb of Bedford or Plano or something. But they only took the best of the best of the best of the best CPS kids who had no emotional issues, who you knew would behave, who you knew wouldn't try to run away, like those. But you didn't, those, and they didn't take real old ones, they didn't take teenagers, what I'm saying? So we didn't, there was not a lot of placements. And I overheard, because I was a little nosy child, I used to listen to caseworkers talk about how there wasn't enough placements. And the group homes that you went to were memorable for not good reasons. So I'm just curious to ask you, when you were thinking about that versus, I don't want to say disrupting your regular home life and bringing these other children in with your children, did you consider, since you had thought about a daycare, did you consider opening, just having another building and then staffing it?
Not until then.
Okay. Look, them brilliance came. Go.
Because I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I knew my job was to deposit. And I knew what kind of mother I was to my sons. And I knew, like in my spirit, I felt that there was a disconnect between teenagers and people and parents. And so as I went through this like the day that I got my license, they was like, oh, yeah, you got your license. Here's the file. Can you read it? Here's the child. Can you take them?
Yep, because they've been waiting.
And so for me, my specialization was teenage boys. Because I knew how to be, I knew I mothered them. Funny enough although that was my specialization, I think out of the 57 children that I fostered.
57?
Yes.
So you touched 57 children's lives.
Absolutely.
Do they still all talk to you?
I didn't count my own too.
Right. Do they still all talk to you?
Some of them I hear from.
Oh, wow.
And out of those 57, I had one toddler, and then Jerry and 3 girls. The rest of them were boys. Of all ethnic groups. And of all binary identifications.
Oh, so you were LGBTQ friendly before it was popular?
Yes. Drag, LGBT, yes, all of, yeah.
Well, I thank you for that. I thank you for that. From the alphabet soup community, although I hate all them letters, I thank you for that.
You're welcome. And it was really my pleasure. But so I decided, so after I got licensed, I got 1. Then there was 2. Then there was 3. Then there was 4. Then there was 5. Then there was 6. Then there was 7. They were all in a home. In addition to my 2.
Did you live in a mansion? Ooh, how you were
5 bedroom. But when you got to Texas, it wasn't a mansion because everything was 5 bedrooms, 3,200 square feet.
Well, that's true.
At $1,700 a month,
Yeah, okay. And so you just packing them in there.
And I was still working until I realized I could, yes. And I was still single because by that time, remember, me and the gentleman had split.
So you was a single mom on purpose?
I mean, that's all I've known.
Somebody say, where they do that at?
Right. So I talked to my children first about it, and I told them that, just how they feel love, these children want to feel the same thing, and we can learn something from them as much as them learning something from us. And so
how they received that, I'm curious.
They were good because I like I always tell people, and I tell my children, I may not get the Mother of the Year award, but I did what I knew what to do and how to do it with what I had. Mm-hmm. So if nobody's passing down the awards, that's fine. I think you are right. If you don't think you are right, then I apologize for where you don't think you are right. And as an adult, you have to take accountability for that and get better.
That's facts.
That's it. And so my children can definitely tell you, I am not the coddle, cradle. I'm gonna need you to put your emotions in check and move forward, because the world don't care about them. So I need you to know how to adjust to them and move forward, because not everybody is going to give you what you need to move forward. So don't allow somebody else to hold you hostage in a space, because you give them the authority to determine how you're going to feel. That's why they have self-esteem. So
Pam said it.
So that's how I've always parent my sons. And then, for my foster children coming in, I just wanted them to be able to feel, to be children and feel love without reservation. And that was their opportunity to be normal. I learned what he meant by deposit and till the soil. Because I knew that these children wasn't coming with me. Because people like, how you don't get it? I don't have attachment issues.
Right.
So I knew my job was to make them better to go out into the world, so that they be better people when they get out there. Mm-hmm. So I knew that's what after I learned that that's what my assignment was, then that was it. Game was on, and they just kept coming. And then there was a list for my house. Then I had attorneys calling me. I had caseworkers calling me. I had parents calling me. Some were in foster care and some were not. So some of the foster children parents were reaching out, Miss T, how can I, what can I? Some of the children in the neighborhood, and this was a very suburban, we talking McKinney. Ooh. McKinney and Frisco ISD.
I'm guessing there were no deed restrictions.
There was no because it was the home, so it wasn't a business. It's a business, but it was a home.
Right. So you kept working throughout all that?
No, eventually I had to come off, because when you have 7 children in foster care with severe emotional, and I'm sorry, I didn't get the 1s and 2s. I got the intense, moderate, and extreme. Those are the I received.
Yeah, they need a lot of care.
So the ones that I'm doing my quotes, nobody else, they were hard to place. And correct. Especially in teenage, we're talking from 10 to 18.
Yeah.
Those were harder to place children. All that to say, it was rewarding. I enjoyed, oh my gosh. I had a girlfriend, my best friend, she lived in Austin, and she was a stand-up comedian. She would call me sometimes for material. I didn't realize it was material until she would call to see how I was doing and just listen to me tell story.
I could see how it's material. It's great. It's great. It's been great material for the show thus far.
And we talking every spectrum.
Yeah.
From 2 of my LBGTYQPS children in the same room, and of different ethnic groups.
It was never a dull moment in that.
It was Listen, I was housewife before housewives was a thing. All I needed was a camera.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
I learned some of the best country songs from some of my foster children, my bonus children.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. Wow.
I've even learned some Spanish.
I'm sure you have.
Yes.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have. So
when I say it was like it used to look like a rainbow coalition leaving the house.
Yeah.
And so people would always find it funny because thank God that I age gracefully. When you hear all these different kids going, Ma, Mama T, and we're in a grocery store. They knew me at Walmart. Yeah.
She got all kind of different baby daddies. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how, and then so it became, I did that for 5 years, and there was always a waiting list for my home because I would help my older children get into college, get their driver's license, get ID, learn how to take their medication on their own. Those were the things that was the deposits and tilling the soil that I got from that. And it was rewarding.
Right.
And to see them either be placed at such an older age, reunite with their families, and then being able to understand or deal with their own traumas, to even some of the younger ones either being adopted or getting with family members, being able to find a family member or something. And of course, at the end, when it came time that it became, as my children, my one son was older and was moving out, but my younger son, when it became a problem for him, when he felt like he was competing for my time because these other children made him feel like I was their parent and not his parent.
That's what I was wondering.
So by the time he got to the 10th, 11th grade, I had to start to reconsider. And then that's when I thought about moving that from my home into a more business. Now, the thing with that is that good old Texans, those good old Christians will smile in your face and they love what you're doing until you're doing it in their neighborhood.
Right. Listen, I was waiting for this to come. I was going to say.
The most insane thing that I heard at one of the economic meetings was that they, as in those children, will bring our property value down. Wow. But we love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just not in our neighborhood. Like, you don't want to open up a home in Dallas. So that's why you find most of the homes in Houston, because they don't have any economic boards to tell them. Well, that's why you find anything in Houston, because there is no structure there as to what can be built and what can't.
Wow. Yeah, and see, back then I didn't know anything about that, but I just knew that, yeah, there was no foster homes, with families.
So mine went to the best schools, and I would interact. So I show up at the school. They got on football teams. They had cell phones. They had sleepovers. They had friends. It was important for me for them to feel like that they belong. So that was my 5 years of fostering. And then, as much as I love the kids, because it definitely come with challenges, late nights, long nights. And then I was very particular about who I allowed to babysit them and what type of respite, because I didn't want anybody to treat my bonus children like they were foster children. So that mean I couldn't travel and go places. And at 40, I didn't want to look 55 before I was 45.
Well, let me just say, on behalf of the CPS kids, we thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
We thank you for your service.
And then it was coming up to my youngest last few years in high school, and I felt like I didn't want to, as much as it was my passion, it was not his. And I didn't feel like I should stump his growth, and he would have to go through that. So then that's how I decided to do something different. I really wanted to open up an emergency shelter, but I was having a hard time, which is, segue into how I became a realtor. But willing to fund my idea. But I was having a hard time for realtors to help me go look for it so that I can put it in a plan and then present it to the board, because I was on the board at Azo Way. I was on the board at Kids Can Fly Foundation, and I had started my own nonprofit, which was Mending Hearts One by One. And so they were going to help me get all these things done, but I couldn't find a realtor to help me look. And I get it. As a realtor, when you out searching, you like, there's got to be a payday for this. But see, that comes to determination and long term, because I know the importance. I'm loyal by a fault. Sometimes it's to my detriment that I'm loyal. You know how you stay somewhere? Yep. Okay. So I definitely wouldn't have had a realtor looking and not make sure that that's the realtor that I go back to when it's time to buy.
Right.
But I was having a problem. So I was like, I'm going to just get my license and then look for the space myself. I didn't come in like, I'm about to be a realtor. That was not what I was thinking. I only came in to get the information, to get my building, to open up this emergency shelter foster group home.
Okay. One plan.
Yeah. And I guess God had different ones, because I called my sister and I said, hey, I need you to come stay with the kids for a couple weeks. I'm going to go to this real estate school. You got to take a test. I think it's like maybe 4 to 6 weeks or something, or 2 weeks. And then I got to study for 2 weeks. And then, I should kind of know something. So my sister said, okay, the benefit of being the youngest. My sister was like, sure, I'll come down and stay for a month and a half. So toward the end of 2014, and she came down and she stayed, and I went to class and did the training, and they talked about how the test was, and it's, 3 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours. Oftentimes people have to come back and take, like, you have the national part and the state part. Very seldom do you pass both. So you just prepare, practice, study. And then you take the test. And when you find out which part you failed, then you go back and try to take it within a certain amount of time. So did all that. I started the class in October. I took the exam in November, right at Thanksgiving. And so I sat there for 4 hours, all 3 hours and 56 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And so I go in, because you can't have anything. You get up, you go in there, and you give them your exam and the proxy, and they put it through. And she looked at me and said, you passed. But you can't yell. You talking about the most quietest celebration until I got out the door.
I would have screamed.
So, I did that one shout.
Yep.
The one the words on. Yep. And so I got out there and I had passed on the first try. And nothing but God, because I am a C student. You understand me?
Listen.
I have to
tell you what kind of student I am. Go ahead.
I have to study for my good B and C. Okay. So, and it took off. I mean, when I say it took off, it's so funny how life happens, because I didn't know first of all, I know the first thing about sales. I don't even like sales. I don't even like salespeople. No, I don't. So,
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive. So I get out, I'm like, oh my God, I got my license. I don't know what to do. And my hairdresser say, I'm gonna introduce you to my realtor. And her name was Pam, Gossett, Caucasian, and Pam had to be about 56 then. Yes, and had been in the business for years. And so I talked to Pam, and Pam was like an absolute lifesaver. She sent me my first client, and I still talk to them today, nonetheless.
Okay.
And I mean, coming in in 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my first client was buying a house for $400,000. I mean, that's when you can get a house over in Craig Ranch for a good $230,000. $30,000
was a lot then.
Yes. So that was my first one. And I was living in a rental house. And I had decided to close my foster group home. Mm-hmm. My children were upset. Like there was some things, some of them was very upset. Like it was heartbreaking for some. That, I mean, they were acting out that it was bad. But I mean, I had to do what was best. So right. They was putting the house that I was in up for sale because I was leasing it. And an agent came in, and she was of Asian descent. She came in, she showed the house or whatever. And, you got to leave so they can come in and show it. She showed the house, no big deal. And then a day later, she reached out to me because I told her I just got my realtor license. Oh, I'm a new agent. Because they say don't be a secret agent. Right. And I was a secret agent. But so I told her, I understood what the formalities were because I was an agent now. She was like, oh, okay. She didn't say anything, just okay. Showed her clients and she left. I got a call about maybe a day later. This agent called me and told me she had some clients coming in from Colorado and wanted to show them homes. They were looking for homes at between $400 and $500. And she wanted to know if I could show them homes because she was busy and couldn't. Of course. So I'm like, I'll practice on them, sure. So I prepare my whole weekend and the homes for them. And so typically when an agent do that, they'll give you a couple of dollars for showing fee, maybe $25 for each house you show them or something. So, I mean, because that was the only money I was going to make. And please believe
just $25?
Yes, back then, 2014. And then keep in mind, people think that fostering was lucrative. I spent my savings fostering. Because when you're taking care of 7 children and you're buying, I don't ever want to look better than my children when we're out. These kids come with garbage. Yes. And then every holiday, I wanted them to feel, and every foster child of mine or bonus child had a cell phone if they behaved accordingly. Each one played sports. We know sports in Frisco ISD are not cheap. Yep. And they had friends and they had sleepovers.
Yep. Please don't think the state gives them anything because they don't.
No. Because I was expected to feed and clothe these children on $50 a day.
The lies they tell.
Some of them was even like, depending on the severity of their status, was like $38 a day. So, all that to say, it wasn't like I was rolling in any kind of dough, because when you have children that require that type of attention, you can't go to work. We had appointments at 7 children. We had therapy appointments once a week. doctor's appointments every quarter. I mean, just it's a lot. And then I had to do paperwork every week on each child as to what their behaviors were, how. So it's a job. It's not like, oh, you wake up and, oh, I'm a foster mom. Oh, I get a lot of money. No, that's not it. But anyway.
Right.
So that's how I became a realtor. So she asked me to show her clients. I showed her clients all that weekend, and I reported back to her that, this is what they like. Here's what they looked at, and on to the next. And then that Monday, she called me back and she said, my clients liked you so much that they would like for you to be their realtor. All you just give me is a referral fee. That was my second set of clients, and it just took off from there. My first year, I had like 10 clients.
Accidental?
I guess yes, accidental, but by personality.
Yes.
Yep.
Miss, I don't like sales.
Well, and I still don't. And I don't sell people homes. I help educate and guide them to buying them. And
she doesn't sell people homes. I can't even repeat it. You say it. She doesn't sell people homes. What do you do, Tam? You what?
I educate and guide them through the transaction and process.
That sounds like selling.
So as a former client, how do you feel like the process went?
You assisted us in selling our home.
There you go. I assisted and I guided you. I just provided
you. No, let's be very clear. There would have been no sale without you. So let's be very clear. You made the sale.
I give recommendations. Now it's on you to follow because you all were good clients.
You gave instructions.
Okay.
You want to be, see, don't ask me as the client because I'm going to tell the truth. You gave very detailed instructions on what we were supposed to do to make sure that the property sold.
Highly recommendations and suggestions.
She gave instructions on what we needed to do to make sure that the property was sold, especially for the price that we wanted it to sell at. And she gave us do's and don'ts.
And that goes two ways because you were willing to take my advice.
Absolutely.
And then I was willing to provide you that advice, which is very important. Absolutely. You did not come pretending or being the know-it-all in the profession that I continue to get educated in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was very much trust in this relationship. There's also patience on her part.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Because my wife was not as quick as I was to offload the property. So while I did the groundwork, Tam was absolutely patient in coming along, but I feel like her patience paid off in the end.
Very much so.
Because definitely we were indeed faithful clients and will continue to be. Now, let me ask you, what do you think is, because I want to ask like entrepreneur questions,
okay. Yeah.
Business owner questions.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think is your business deal that you're most proud of thus far? Like what's the house that you could say like, I did that.
Ooh.
Like that house was not, that house could have easily not been sold, but I did that. For me not to like sales, I did that.
I think I feel like that for like any one of them that sells, but it also takes your client to trust you and trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when a client try to take over the transaction? It gets the boggle, and now you're fighting each other instead of dealing with the people. because that's like me trying to host and I'm not a host. And then it goes left because there, the structure in which what your audience want. So I can't take over your position and try to do your job when I'm not doing mine. As a seller, your job is to prepare the house, not tell me how to prepare it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So to me, it doesn't get any easier then. So I can't say that to answer your question. It's a lot. I've been doing this for almost 10 years now. So because I got licensed at the end of 2014 during Christmas season. And most agents know that's our shutdown time. Like, you working, but you really just kind of fine toothing your business, getting your models and everything. You're not really busy. Right. You may have one or two customers, but so with this coming up, with this being like my 10th year, and I'm going to have something. So with that being the 10th year, I probably have so many stories, but it's the ones where my clients were receptive, loyal, because this is a very disloyal, I don't want to say community, but profession. Because people think that they can will and deal in a transaction and make it easy.
Right.
But we don't hold you don't go to your doctor asking him what's the discount? And then I'm going to tell you what's wrong with me to a degree.
Right.
Because you go to him for his assessment of what it is. Now, I'm not saying the doctors haven't got it wrong and you don't disagree, but your initial take when you went was to get the information to determine if that's the person, because not all realtors are created equal, and nor do everybody's personality fit. So you have to find the best person that works for you. But as an entrepreneur, it is work. You have to be able to, there are times when my families knew that I wasn't going to be present. I may be in a room, but we could be at a family gathering or even with my girlfriends hanging out party, but it's a laptop on my lap while I'm trying to write a contract.
Yep.
And negotiate, and it's 9:30. My cell phone may beep at 11:45. Now, as you get into the business and you learn how to navigate those, but as a new agent, your clients call you answering. Most people's like, you act like you a doctor or a lawyer. I am. They are spending their life savings. This is the most one of the most lucrative contracts that they will get in. And I feel like I need to be available.
I think we was calling you in like 10 and 11. Yeah.
Well, and then too, that's your work hours. So your work hours now become my work hours. Yeah. When I hear agents be like, oh, I don't answer the phone after 6 o'clock. Oh, to each his own. I'm an empty nester. Most of the time, you might get an email from me at 2:30, depending on how late I'm working or not. I just, so to each his own. I get it. But as an entrepreneur, when you build in your business, it is sweat, blood, and tears. I've been in the middle of the sea. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? You don't get to, oh, I'm off. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when you're realtor off, I'm on.
Absolutely. Have you ever had to fire a client?
Yes. 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 And I love family, but those are some of the people I don't work with.
Oh.
And I've had to fire 2 clients. One was a business partner.
Like someone that wasn't family. Like, have you ever had to say?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I had to fight too. And this person wasn't really family because it was the wife of a family member.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And so, and it was my first listing. Yep.
Oh, and was it difficult?
Of course, because I was excited. It was my very first one. I knew I had done what I was supposed to do, but they wanted to be the buyer, the seller, the buyer's agent, the listing agent, and and I was just like, this is not going to work. And they wanted me to find them a house. I need you to focus on getting this house prepared for me to sell before we go looking for you a house. And that's when I learned.
For us, this is not gonna.
And I told her, unfortunately, this working relationship can't continue. And she was kind of confused. And it was hard. It was hard for me to let go because I was like, that's my first listing. And I was like, ready. I had done an open house and everything. And then people don't realize as realtors, there's a lot of stuff we pay for at the beginning. And I mean, that's not to go into like income, but people think you sign in a yard and you get a lot of money. Yay. And it's that easy.
Yeah, no, supplies cost money.
Well, yes. If the house is not right, then you have to be the one to tell your client, hey, this is what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we're responsible. I mean, we're not responsible, but we are if you're a full service agent.
Mm-hmm.
Photos, signage, running those comps, keeping up with the people that's going in and out of the home, any work that has to be done, time framing, if it sells, if it doesn't sell, if, they're doing the things that you suggest, if they don't, if it's priced right, what's the time it's going to be on sale. And don't be a relocation listing agent. Relocation companies pays for nothing. They reimburse you.
And there is a difference between reimbursement and pay.
Yes. So, I mean, it's so many things. And so for entrepreneurship, people think it's just, I want to be stop watching listing sunset, sunrise.
Right.
Oh, your
$1
dollar
million listing. Are you trying to say that's not an accurate depiction?
For them.
That guy?
For a short period of time.
What's the guy who owns that $1 million company?
I don't know. I don't even watch it no more. And I used to watch all.
It's a guy, he owns a $1 million company. He was on another show, and then he went and started his own realty company. And they only do like the highest of the highest.
And where is he located?
In New York.
So there's New York and California. I want us in Texas.
And he is cutthroat.
Oh, so you see how he has to be?
He is cut.
He has to be. I don't know how him and God gonna deal with each other when he gets to the pearly gates. That's between him and his mate.
Well, I mean, he's cutthroat with his agents. Like he does not play. Like
you can't. And it's a learning business because that's how I learned the importance of communicating, knowing your customer. When they tell you that this theory is for real, you have to know what your client prefers. You may prefer text message. I may be, and it's easy for us to be working with 4 or 5 personalities at one time.
Mm-hmm.
You may prefer text message. This client don't want text message. You only want to know when something happened. This client want to know, he or she may want me calling them if nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's a host of, it's just not one-sided or, don't do this or do that. You have to know your client. And people's like, I only work in this area. Well, depending on where that area is, if your investor client is looking for property in Itasca, Texas, then you need to research Itasca, Texas.
Now, okay, so let me ask you this. When you are, as a business owner, when you're hiring out people, because we was talking about this before the show, this is something that I've been researching and looking at, because obviously as entrepreneurs, we have to source out people to do different things.
Mm-hmm.
What do you find is common these days as, I don't want to say problems, but maybe little stumbling blocks that we run into when it comes to hiring freelancers or people who we need to do little things to help make our business run, or essential things to help make our business run? Because obviously you have to get advertisements. Obviously you have to get your signs made. Obviously you have to get all that type of stuff done. So when you're doing that, you have to shop for you somebody to do your graphics, and somebody to do this, somebody to do that. So what's your process with that? Because you have a bunch of options these days. Everybody does graphics, everybody does signs, everybody does t-shirts, everybody does cards. What's your process with that? Because I'm finding that good help is
hard to find.
Yes. Well, dependability.
That's I was gonna say.
Loyalty, timeliness, but also being respectful of other people's time and knowing that time is money, I think is something that people don't understand. Like you because we've worked together, my schedule. Mm-hmm. So like my schedule is my schedule for a reason. But not only that, like if you set a business meeting with somebody and they don't come,
you honor their time. And so some of these lessons are lessons learned early on. I realize I'm a meat and potatoes kind of person. What I mean by that, spare me all the fuzzy stuff detailed in, but to tell me what's the goal and what are we going to do to get there. And so I just assume that that's how everybody operates. But of course, in business, you learn that that's different. I think as people, we fail to communicate. I have learned to become an over communicator, depending on the person. At first, I took not communicating because I'm like, there's nothing to tell you. So what I need to call and tell you what? Nothing? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you need to know nothing happened and that nothing happened. So now I'm going to call you and tell you, I'm going to give you a weekly update of nothing if nothing is happening. Mm-hmm. However, I think communication, and that's just amongst people. People don't communicate. And unfortunately, people don't communicate effectively. There is a difference between talking and listening. And a lot of people talk and don't listen. And so some people think that they're listening, but they're listening to rebuttal, not listening to hear, which is very different.
Right.
So I think what I find in some of it, and unfortunately in our culture, is communication and pricing, where some people really should be pricing at a medium that they feel like they already on a high because that's what everybody else is doing and they have the business. And then we're offended when we go outside of our marketplace or culture to get people to work for us. Because the first thing we say is, I wouldn't do it at that price. But everything starts at the bottom and grows. And I never wanted to be the one to blow up. I wanted to grow up. So if my business, if my customer service is going to lack because I have too many clients, then I'd rather scale back to maintain the customer service. And to be honest,
exactly,
for the last 8 years, my business was built on referrals. I didn't have to prospect. And it's not a brag. It's just what it was. It was based on word of mouth and repeat and referral business. So I found it very I didn't even know what a pipeline was
Yeah.
and sales because all of my business was referral based until I had to start building a pipeline and now going into sales and marketing and prospecting and calling people. And I never took the people that I got for referrals as for granted because I still felt like I had to work for it
Right.
to get it. But oftentimes, some of us as entrepreneurs expect that, oh, because we doing this, they gonna show up. Or because they know us, it's gonna, they gonna happen. But when you're dealing with a variety of people and ethnic groups, you start to learn. There was a book I read, Curse. Oh gosh, what was it? Cursey. So Cursey Shake Bow.
Okay.
And it was about the different cultures and how they do business. And to be honest, probably the first 5 years of the 10 years, and I kid you not, that I was in business were all of Indian descent. My customer base were majority Indians.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm with you on that. A lot of people don't even know what I really do. And my business is referral business. It's not for any of the things. Now, don't get me wrong. I have multiple businesses running, and people see me advertising different things. I wrote a book. I have a support group for LGBTQ families and parents, and I have a podcast. But the truth of the matter is, I'm a psychology wealth coach for business and entrepreneurs who make 8 figures and above. That is a referral only business usually, meaning someone who requires me to sign an NDA who I can't tell you about, told somebody else how I helped them through one of their most difficult times in life. And that's how I get my business. So I can't really talk about that a lot online, but that's literally how, how that business works. So that's, when you think about it from that perspective, no matter what people think about that, that's a referral business.
Yes.
And so if I don't do well, whoever my last client is won't, feel like they need to tell someone else about me. Because that's not a business that I really can. I mean, I can tell people about it and I can advertise them about it, but most people in some demographics, most people who follow me already won't be my clients. And so we miss that a lot. And I tell the entrepreneurs that I mentor now, most of your followers that you already have aren't your clients.
It took me some time, and that's funny because I was not a big social media person prior to COVID because that's not where my business came from. And then I'm sure as an entrepreneur and being socially involved, that for certain generations and some people, if you're not on social media, you don't exist.
If it's certain demographics, because here's the thing, something else that people don't know. Certain people in certain income brackets really don't exist on social media. That's someone posting a profile and posting things for them.
Yes. And
okay,
ding, ding, ding.
Like people, for instance, Magic Johnson is not really on social media.
No.
Someone has authorized someone to create a profile for him, and they make posts of what he's doing so that we can see and interact and feel like we're being engaged with him. Not saying that there's anything fraudulent about that, but I'm just saying most people in certain demographics don't have a social media. So the people that you see that's really flashing and really doing like a whole bunch of stuff,
Because I couldn't understand how did they have time to do it.
I think
Because I was struggling trying to.
I mean, I pay somebody now to post my social media posts because I don't have time. And then much less to post and then scroll down and see
What people are.
like, I don't, I mean, and then honestly, you'll be disturbed at what people actually have time to sit and talk about.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like that's like that's the object of our attention.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I mean, I understand what you're saying on that. I just, like I said, as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things that you do in referral. When your business is by referral, that's my next question. How important is it the rule of doing good business? Because that's another thing that I tell my people. If I refer you to somebody, please do good business.
It wasn't
Please,
important.
please do good business.
And I think we have a duty to, I don't like when people like, oh, I told such a so-and-so something and I was keeping it real. Keeping it real does not mean disrespectful.
Yes.
Because you can tell somebody, hey, can I give you some constructive criticism? Which is how I learned to become a better communicator. Because again, at the beginning, I'm like, if I ain't got nothing to tell you, ain't no need for me to call you. When I call you, I got some information. When my name and number show up on your caller ID, oh, Tam got something to say or tell me. Otherwise, your girlfriend is there to shoot the stuff with you.
Yeah.
You call her. That's what y'all do. I got information for you. So a friend of mine told me and they was a client and they was a friend. And it was my bestie, as a matter of fact. And she said, can I tell you something, friend? I said, yeah. She said, I felt like you didn't keep me informed. I was like, well, what? That there was nothing out there? She was like, but I didn't know that. And I was like, really? But I appreciate her telling me. So she was the reason that I communicated. Now, what I do find happen is people will take us culturally for granted because we're in the circle. If you're looking for space and you say, hey, Tam, I'm looking for space. And I'm like, okay, great. Reaching out, calling. Oh, I'm on vacation. Oh, I got something to do. Oh, I'm not doing this. Oh, I'll get to it later. Okay. Well, just let me know when you're ready. And then you decide you're ready. And we all know how electronically things set up. If you opt into something, you'll get the constant notifications. If you opt out, you have a responsibility to go back and say, I'm opting back in. So when you reach out and decide, hey, I'm finally ready, and I'm sending you things and you're not getting them, you don't think there's a duty for you to call and say, hey, I'm not getting the emails that you're saying that you sent, or I haven't seen anything in a matter of days or whatever. Oh, you need to opt in. Then you don't opt in. Oh, she didn't follow up. No, you didn't do your part.
Yeah.
And then you were consistent with this person, but you wasn't consistent or considerate of me because I'm your home girl, or you know me outside of being a realtor, because I'm the same person here on this side and on this side. It is you that wasn't consistent in being the person that you were when taking care of business and not.
Right. Yeah, people can't get you. I mean, at the end of the day, and I think we also talked about that too earlier. If I hire you to do a job, you have not hired me as your therapist.
Yes. You asked me to sell your house. You didn't ask me to counsel the product.
Do not expect me to treat you like you are my client and I am your No. I hired you to do something, whatever it is, whether it's to clean, whether it's to cook, whether it's to do whatever. I hired you to do, wash my car or something. Well, so you cannot expect me and then to hold you accountable. Me holding you accountable has nothing to do with me being a therapist. Like they don't
go together. Right.
There's two different roles.
So the expectation for me to show up and you don't show up is confusing.
Yeah, no. I'm going to show up in the role that's assigned to me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And those that have worked with me will know the role. If your role is to come and sit on my couch and we're going to have that conversation, how I am with you at that time is very different than how I'm with you if we're running a project and I'm the boss. That's what that is.
I completely agree.
So, I just wanted to know how you look at that. But I do think, because I've had a time where I had a colleague of mine, somebody around the area, and they called me because they were going to get ready to do business with a venue, and they knew I had done business with the venue before, and they called and was like, "Hey, Jennifer, I know you did an event there. How were they? Did they treat you right?"
Mm-hmm.
And I told them the truth.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's just giving honest feedback.
And I don't know how to. As a person, I'm too transparent.
Yeah, but I don't see nothing wrong. I don't see nothing wrong with that. I think, but see, that's the thing.
So I don't know how to.
Side of that, if you do good business, that's how your business will grow, because people will tell the honest truth, and if the honest truth is good, then you should have nothing to worry about.
Don't have to worry about it. That part.
So yeah. So anyway, Tam, I think this has been a very informative interview. I'm so glad you were able to share your story like this. The fact that you've done all these things and you're not 90 is remarkable. You try
not to look it either.
Look, no, you don't. You not, girl. You still look young, girl. You still got it. I'm trying to. Are you opening up any more business ventures in the future? Do we have to look forward to anything?
Other than at some point, I would like to transition. I know it's work. I'm gonna test the waters at some point or another later in the future in some type of emergency center, because I feel like a lot of these children are lost. And then the parents that are parenting today, it's different.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. So, other than that, I just want to continue to grow my team as a realtor and those that come up under me for mentorship and help them grow their business, because I don't want to keep them at a standstill. My job is to grow them. If I feed into them till they become whatever it is, that's my reward.
Yes.
Just, passing it on and being a good realtor to those that utilize and appreciate my services.
Yes. Well, I can testify you are definitely an excellent.
Thank you.
With superior service. I would say luxurious service. Definitely. Answers your phone at all times of the evening with all types of questions. Yes, ma'am. Answers questions and does it with a smile. Never felt like we were bothering you at any given time. Just pleasant. All of that. Didn't wait until the closing and then ran. We couldn't call her again. All of that stuff. So yeah. Now, like I said, she did give very detailed instructions on what to do and what not to do. She was very clear about, listen, this is how we gonna do this. When y'all ready to get y'all stuff in line, you let me know. And so we had a little, come to Jesus meeting with her, but that was necessary for the situation. Everybody don't need to come to Jesus meeting. So
yeah, they do.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
They do? Okay, well, anyway, her coming to Jesus meeting was superb. So I think, if you're looking for a realtor, she's the best one that I know, and I know quite a few. The rest of y'all, I love y'all, but she's the best one I know. So this has been just a most enlightening podcast. I hope all of you all were taking notes and getting all this wisdom that was dropped. Again, Tam, thank you for your service, though, for the CPS kids out there. This is a miraculous thing.
I truly appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yes, this has just been wonderful. Listen, you all like, share, and subscribe, and we will be back to you real soon with the second episode of season 2 with different perspective. You all take good care. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.